If you're into black metal that leans immersive without getting lost in atmosphere, death metal that balances brutality with clarity, and core releases that actually think about dynamics instead of just piling on a bunch of noise, this week's Mom Approved Metal albums are totally worth your time. Hey metal fans, Mike with MikeOnMetal here with your weekly Mom Approved metal picks. Now for those of you that don't know me, I've been a metal fan most of my life, but I took a long break from discovering new bands and albums. In my late 40s, I got back into checking out new music across the various heavy genres. Now I'm sharing the best of what I find with you each week in these videos. You can also find my full album reviews, concert photography, and more on my site, MikeOnMetal.com. Okay, let's get to this week's picks. Now for black metal this week, coming in at number 3, I have Aathiel by Chaosophy. This is black metal, released December 9th. The band is from Madison, Wisconsin. This is a pretty easy listen. There's depth to it without it being like too atmospheric or too many effects going all over the place, too many elemental things in the background. It was a little bland at points, but it wasn't enough where I got bored and felt the need of wanting to skip tracks. Next up, number 2, I've got Beyond the Black Horizon by Chaosophy. This one was released December 12th on Serpent Sun Records. This one's out of Kyiv, Ukraine. This is the band's 3rd full-length album. It is non-English speaking, but I love that this isn't a boundary breaker or a deal breaker for me listening to albums. I don't have to have like an English album in order to sit down and actually enjoy it. Now, this was another easy to listen to album. Nothing really groundbreaking here, but I mean, it's why it didn't end up on my top pick, but still a great album to listen to. It kind of checks the standard black metal expectations. My number 1 pick for the week is Hierophany with Tenebrario. I really hope I didn't butcher that one. Now this is a December 12th release date again. This is a debut release from this 2-piece project from Mexico. I couldn't really, what I dug into it, it appears that it's kind of a one-man project, but there's somebody that's kind of consulting on lyrics, things like that. So I'm not exactly sure. That's kind of the impression that I got from what I was able to find. But anyway, vocal stylings on this almost feel like an homage to Tibetan monks at times. Like there's this deep, almost chanting vibe to the vocals. Now, it's not something that is present throughout the whole album. It's just kind of here and there in little spots. But there are other styles of vocals as well, like these whispery spoken word. There's also like the traditional shrieking black metal vocals. So it's just a really good mix of vocal styles that keeps the album interesting. The build up on track 2, you can't help but just get pulled into the song. And I think that's what really helped solidify this one as my top pick, is that it wasn't just that kind of same 1 or 2 track styles, vocal styles. There was just a really good assortment of different ranges of vocals and music styling. There's elements of like atmosphere, rawness, and just massive sound. It's just such a spacious, immersive, and expansive experience throughout this whole album. All right, moving into our death metal category. Coming in at number 3, I have Obsecrate the Deity with Metempsychosis. Metempsychosis? One of those. This is tech death metal, released December 6th. Now, this one's a solo project from the US. This is the 3rd full-length album. What stood out for me with this one is that it's an instrumental. The reason it's not top 1 or top 2, it's a little long for my tastes. Most of the songs fall under 3 minutes, but it goes for almost an hour. I see this with solo projects. I don't know if it's just that they can't find a way to edit themselves. Maybe they need, right, a producer that can go, okay, you know what? We're getting a little long here. Let's just cut it back. Let's cut 2 tracks out of this. Technically, well produced, very precise. It's an album that I really enjoyed listening to, but again, I was just getting to a point where, and maybe it was because there's no vocals there, it just got a little long for me. Okay, number 2, I have Anchor of Madness by Hollow Decay. And this one is melodic death metal. This was released on December 12th. It is an independent released solo project out of Australia. Again, a little long. I just don't get it. I've mentioned this, okay, so this is the second one here, but I mean, the sweet spot for me, even for pretty much any album, is like 35 to 40 minutes. And it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good of an album it is. I find that that's where things kind of fall off for me. If I'm pushing 45 minutes, an hour, I don't know. I find myself getting bored. Could be just me. Now, more than just guitars and drums on here, right? It's not an instrumental. There are vocals. So I think that's what kind of, for this one, at least, it bumped it up from the previous album. Oh, you left me, where's that you found? Last up, I've got Unheimlich by a band that I don't know how to pronounce. Solegnium, I guess. We'll try that. You can see it on the screen. Anyways, released December 7th. This one coming out on Limited Blasting Production. This is a Columbia band. This is their 3rd full-length album, and it is brutal, ferocious, but also some technical albums coming through on the entire thing. There's some really killer tempo changes that keep things interesting all throughout the album. Overlapping vocals that create kind of this chaotic feel. I love hearing everything in the mix. And I know I've said this on previous ones. I've even mentioned it in some of my reviews on my site. But so much of the genre is like Injustice for All production quality, where they just drop out the low end and there's no bass. It's just guitar and drums with vocals kind of sitting in there. For me, it's got to be all or nothing. I think a good album has that kind of balance, and this one definitely has that balance. Now, this is not for the faint of heart. Those that don't like the more brutal side of the death metal genre probably aren't going to like this album. Myself, I've listened to it a few times since it dropped. All right, last up, we have our core genres. Remember, these are going away in January. While they might still hit every once in a while if there's some good deathcore releases or other metalcore that I think are up to par for everybody. So starting off at number 3, we've got Apocalypse on Earth, a tribute to Mortician, and this is by a band called Massacred. This is brutal death metal grindcore. It was released on December 7th from Corpse Gristle Records. Now, this album is heavy as fuck, leaning more towards the grindcore side of the genre than it is brutal death metal. So if you don't like grindcore, this one might not be for you. It's horror themed, so there's like not only the songs written about kind of horror movies and stuff, but there's also clips from various horror flicks in between the songs. Okay, number 2, Abbey Falls, Life is Just a Temporary Pain. Came out on December 12th from Out of Line Music. This is a mix of hardcore and metalcore. I'd say touches of deathcore in there, but it focuses more on kind of the hardcore metalcore mix. So it does have its ups and downs. It didn't hit for me all the way through. I think what hit the most was the vocals. They're just not the same style over and over. There's a really good mix of different vocal stylings on this, kind of from the hardcore side and then into like more of the metalcore side of things. The music has a little of the, I want to say, noise distortion, sort of mathcore distortion. I don't know if that's what it's called or not, but it reminds me of like the 90s dial-up sound, but put as a distortion on a guitar, if you know what I mean. And that just, it was just off-putting for me. I'm not a big fan of it. With this one, I was kind of able to overlook it, kind of based on the rest of the music or the rest of the songs and styling. The guitar, I could actually not pay that much attention to, if that makes sense. If not for that, this probably would have been my top pick for the week. All right, number one, Entanglement by Son of the Suns. This is melodic deathcore, released on December 12th through Scarlet Records. Now, this one's not over the top with melodic elements, which is kind of nice. It's extremely well balanced, and it could be the vocal styling that adds to this. I don't know. I find that so many melodic albums these days, or so many melodic metal, melodic death albums, they have way too much operatic cleans, just the vocals that don't fit. I think if you want to sing clean, go do power metal. Maybe we need a new genre that's like death power metal that you can have cleans in. I don't know, it doesn't fit for me. The cleans on this one, they are in there, but they actually only appear on the last track, but they're this ethereal, almost angelic type element. It's a nice change of pace for a melodic album to not have every track where it's like harsh vocals, clean vocals, harsh vocals, clean vocals. So this is why it landed in top pick for me. There's atmospheric elements that are present, but they're not overdone. There's a musical interlude track that I could have done without, but the rest of the album makes up for it. So I didn't even skip it. Even my second and third time through, I just let it play. It's only a couple minutes long. And I hate skipping tracks. I really do, because I think the band's put in a lot of work coming up with how the track or how the album should play out. So for me, if I have to skip a track, it's not an album that's ever going to end up in my top three. Okay, last up, we're taking a look at my Ripped From The Crypt. This is where I share an album from any time other than this past week. It could be something that I found too late from the previous week, or it could be from before social media ruined all of our lives. Now this week I have Slumber of Sullen Eyes from Demigod. This is the first of 3 full-length albums from this band. It's one of those albums that makes me realize what I missed out on in all those years that I didn't listen to anything other than like my 4 or 5 favorite metal bands. This was actually released the year I graduated from high school, 1992, and also the year that I pushed off into other genres away from metal. I went down the full gambit. I mean, I listened to everything from we just called it dance music back then, but like EDM. I got into some rap, some hip hop. I did a little bit of pop, top 40. So I've listened to other music throughout my, 51 years on this planet. I'm just choosing to stick back on metal because it's always where I land. There's breathing room in each of these songs to really let the music stand out. It's not one of those albums where like the vocals are over kind of every section other than the intro and the solo. There's these little interludes in between that really split up the songs nicely. It's got an old school death metal feel, of course, being from 1992. And I feel like this is kind of that genre defining sound that we're hearing now when we talk about old school death metal. This checks all my boxes for what I look for in a death metal album. It's low and slow with sections of up-tempo beats There's these deep, choked out vocals that are still legible. The drumming is like a mix of blast beats, double bass, just perfection in the fills. Now, unfortunately, they have split up, but there are 2 other albums to check out from this band if this one hits for you like it did for me. Okay, metal fans, those are my top picks for this week. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I'll be back again for more next week with only 2 more videos left for this year, and then I'll be doubling up for a couple of weeks into the new year with my top 25 albums of 2025, as well as the weekly content. As always, support your local scene, buy the patch for your vest, and stay heavy.